Howdy people, and welcome to this special Western build. Thanks to the folks at Frontier, we had access, or early access, to the update 3, and I was able to build a Western spinning coaster. This one is called the Saloon Stormer, and this is going to be inspired by the Barnstormer on the Disney park. For those of you who know, this one is in Disneyland, Florida, and there is a Goofy inspired ride where there's like a coaster going through a barn a couple of times, or one time, I don't remember. I was 8 years old when I was there. I don't even know if it still exists, but the idea is that we have a main building, and this is our Western Saloon, which we're going to take as inspiration, and we're going to storm through that one 3 times. This is also part of the building process now, making sure that we have a region where you can go through 3 times, which is really cool. And later on, it's gonna be very exciting and also involving for the people, A, in the queue, but also B, obviously riding the coaster. It's not like the most exciting or long coaster in the world, but I think it's a very good blueprint to be used, and I'm going to use this blueprint also in another park of mine. More about that in a future episode. But yeah, this is the main inspiration I had for like the type of coaster, and then the type of coaster that is obviously the Barnstormer in the Disney version is not a spinning coaster, but it is a let me just think. I think it's a kids coaster themed by an airplane or something like that. I have no idea who the manufacturer is or so. But over here we are going for a, if I'm not completely wrong, this is a Mack Rides spinning coaster, the same kind of ride that is also the Euromir in Europa Park, which is, I think, the only one of those coasters I at least know right now. Or it's also, I'm not sure if Vinya's Fear and Force is the same in Fantasyland, if it's the same type of coaster. I think it is, with some special track pieces, but like this is really something that I'm looking forward to. But yeah, so this build, the coaster layout, as you can see over here, I'm kind of happy with, not gonna lie. I did do a little bit of tweaking here and there to just ensure that we have a bit of an exciting ride, but also to have enough cars going through the ride, because apparently the 3 areas where like the ride is going through the saloon, it's kind of boring if there's only one coaster passing by and people would need to wait for the coaster passing by so many times, and I would love to have more cars really being on track the whole time. And this is why I need to trick a little bit with the different track pieces, but eventually it worked out kind of decently enough. I need to play around a little bit with the minimum interval of station releases, so thereby I could be improving it even further, because at the moment we have a little bit of a stoppage at the top of the lift hill, which I want to get rid of in the final version of it, simply to have a bit more of momentum going through. But as in the last patch, they brought in the the friction per ride back, the control for the friction per ride, I was easily going for a 0.9 friction on this ride, making it a bit more involving, a bit more nice, because I figured this one had a bit of a heavy friction effect, which I didn't find too realistic. But yeah, so that was all about the coaster layout, and in a bit we are getting into the building part, and I really need to talk about this building part a lot, because I gotta correct myself. I think it's also important to correct yourself when you think you were wrong, or when you know you were wrong, in fact. And it appears that I said, I don't need a new theme. But I didn't know how wrong I could have been, and this is a very interesting one. So the Western theme has always been one of my favorites in Planet Coaster 1 because of how versatile the pieces in the pack have been, or in the theme, I should say. It's not a pack, pack would be something added via a DLC or so, but it's an in-game theme of the original, and now it is also becoming an in-game theme for the successor, because it's something you don't have to pay for. It's just basically added to the vanilla game, which is absolutely great. And knowing how good the first theme was, it also comes in now as a theme that adds so much to the game. And I will still say you can achieve a lot of the stuff that I will be doing with the original theme, but obviously it comes in very handy to have so many new pieces, or old pieces, just don't know. But I also find it like very interesting, because I have made this comparison a couple of days ago that I built in the original game. If you haven't seen that on the channel, highly recommend to watch that first of all to see the comparison. And I'm very glad to say that they have very much brought in the pieces with the same level of quality, obviously, but also improved the shading of the textures and just the textures in general. You can see this specifically here with the very bright wooden color I'm going for our main building, the Saloon. Again, I'm very pleased to have this, and specifically these little brackets over here have been one of my go-to pieces. If you remember the good old days, I have built a complete elephant statue out of these pieces simply because they were just like the smallest ones to be used, and now being able to scale them in this game just kind of multiplies the options you have with this set by, well, so many times. And I genuinely find this is the perfect first theme to be added. Sure, I would love to see the, yeah, I think the next one I would love to see is the sci-fi pack, because that one was also pretty good. But here's a little bit of my personal caveat about this. I think the Western set and the Pirate set, those two were my favorites from the first game. I know that a lot of people like the Fairy Tale set, but my biggest complaint about the Fairy Tale set has been, and would be the same now, that the pieces are too themed and too big for a multiple usage, I should say. So they're not as versatile as they could have been, simply because they kind of go to this kind of Disney theme a little bit too much, and this is, I think, the strength of the Western set. It's loosely themed to Western, but you could technically use many other pieces as well for way more themes than just Western. You can also go for pirate or just general resort theme, because the wood is very versatile and it isn't themed too much. Sure, you have a couple of pieces that are fully Western apparently, like some of the bison's skull and so on, but or buffalo, I should say, the buffalo skull. But other than that, you just have a couple of very nicely textured wooden pieces. Some of the brackets could even work for some Victorian style buildings if you want to reuse them in a different color. And even though in the testing and the beta there were a couple of things not working with the flexi color, but in general they have added a lot of flexi color option to the set that haven't been existing in the base game, which is really, or in the first game I should say, which is really good. So the build I'm going for is not really like a Western city, as you can tell from some areas you would, see also in Disney or so, when they have like a little bit of a main street there, which usually is the go-to thing you would do with like a little Western town, always has that main street, on which you always would have the fights and so on and the shootouts. But like, I wanted to do a coherent build. Like, this is a Western theme to the coaster, and we have that little city, town, I don't know, sum of buildings evolving around the coaster. So it really was meant to be a blueprint for a coaster this time around. Something they that I've been not doing too often in the past, and I always have made these things so that they fit very nicely in my ongoing projects. And this time around I thought it's a good call to do a bit of a one-off, and I am very happy with the result. I may say I would have loved to show you the final result in a POV or so, but it appears that just a couple of hours before the embargo drops and we are allowed to post these videos, it seems like the beta for some odd reasons have some issues, and I can't really, not only me, I think people just can't access the beta anymore, which is a bit of a pain, and would have loved to show you this one. So if it's going to be fixed before uploading, I will put it into the video. Otherwise I'm gonna redo this later on, and so you can see this. And there is also, this coaster will reappear in a different project, as I've said earlier, so don't you worry about this. Alright, as I'm a little bit short on time, I will give you a bit of nice Western music now, and I'll be back towards the end of the video with my voiceovers. So far you can see a bit of building, the new old theme in action, how the pieces appear to be working together, and then I'm talking to you again. All right, here is Mr. Rudy back for you, back for good, back for gold. Whatever you want to see. Speaking of gold, there's a little item with this mine entrance, as you can tell to the right hand side there. Yeah, the build. Oh my god, guys, the build has been so fun. It again. I want to correct me yet again. This theme, I don't really know what I shall say. I didn't know that I was missing it so much until I was having it now. And it just adds really a lot to the game. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this build as much as I did. Because certainly this one-off build was something to kind of change up a little bit of the Hanseatic Dreamland just to get out of this. Also the Disney-styled water park we did a couple weeks ago as well. And just like taking me out of this theme and going back to a Western theme felt really good. It just really sparked my creativity again. And it's just so freaking iconic to theme parks around the world. You don't even need to go to Disney or so. This is just a Western theme is so iconic. And maybe this is where I get the criticism. Like, I have been an advocate for the in-game sets in Planet Coaster 2, and I will stick to that. I do still find them very, very good. I think the choice Frontier made with the themes is good, and I also think the pieces they delivered to us are all better than any of the original themes. I still stand by that. They have learned from all the experience they gained in Planet Zoo and made sure that all the packs and pieces are versatile enough to build certain other things with it. And yes, I do understand that people are not like me. Not everyone is like me and has the patience and maybe the creativity to turn this all into a certain theme. But given the fact that I have had this challenge from the beginning, either you put in some new unique sets and show your creativity, or you go with the old sets from the first game and then you would be called lazy and, I don't know, boring, which I would put my money on the table for that. If Frontier would have done a Planet Coaster 2 with exactly the themes from the first game, the hate would have been even bigger than now. However, at the end of the day, I do understand the criticism that with the choice of the new sets and the way they shape the pieces, apparently some of the fan favorite themes of theme parks, like Pirates, Spooky, and so on, is just not really realizable in a casual way. And one has to accept that. One has to respect that opinion. And the Western theme is definitely a step in the right direction. It's now a very accessible and a very good theme to quickly do a Western themed area. There are a couple of blueprints you can use, and I guess in a couple of days there will be bajillions of blueprints you can use, including mine, obviously, here for the Saloon. And you can even take out some of the buildings yourself. Something you have seen in the time-lapse is the little church building with this custom-made roof in the middle. I'm very proud of that one. That turned out to be looking very cool, and it's obviously also one of the highlights of this area. And then towards the end, I had an idea to do something with, making sure that this is a bit of a more fun experience within the Saloon. I wanted to use the platforms to create something. But then this little beta issue came, came into it. I'm a little split, because this would have been a very cool little thing. I'm not talking about this, by the way. I'm doing some of these wonderful things here that, in modern day saloons you would find, not in like classic saloons of the time, but making sure to get some air conditioning from the ventilators from top, like, these things. I don't know, I just found this a bit more of a mixture of a bit more modern day saloon versus old day saloon. I don't know, it felt like a theme park thing to do, to cool it down a bit in here. Not sure if you would do it. I just found this a little bit of a nice touch. And then at some point I figured that the ceiling in here didn't look quite good. So I was fixing that too and getting a couple of details in. I must also admit that in the last couple of weeks and this is something I just have to say, because otherwise people will potentially comment that and would be totally fine with that. This build over here I'm very okay with. But in the last couple of weeks, my time doing YouTube has been rather limited, is very much not even the right phrasing. Has barely down to 0, simply because my job takes up a lot of time at the moment. It's we are crazy successful at the moment, but that also equally takes up a lot of my time, and so I just have a couple of hours a week to do my YouTube stuff, and I have to be very efficient, which is why some of the latest builds haven't really been up to the standards of detail and level of detail that I wished it was. And I decided to go for this build over here, to go quality over quantity, which means that this is the only build I was able to do in a rather long early access to this update number 3. So big thanks to Frontier to getting the early access stuff sorted out again, I guess, and also this time around for how long that was. So very pleased with this. I would have loved to show you more. If I get it done in time and the beta is working in time again, I will make an overview. If not, that's going to be done like a review, which I've done in the last with the last update as well. But I can tell you already, this update is again very, very good. It's not as chunky as the first one was, but given the set that we got, it just brings even more to the table. So very pleased with this build, very pleased with the result. And unfortunately, as I'm not aware and not sure yet if the video you'll get is going to have some very nice cinematics included, that means the build was back. Or if not, so we have to look at some screenshots right now. But I am more than happy with how this build turned out. It's super Western. It just really translates the vibe, and I can't wait to use that in a different park and flesh it out a bit more. I have some more ideas, but they will be done then in the different parks. So thank you so much for watching as always. And if you enjoyed this video, there are a couple of things I want to leave you with. So first of all, if you're not subscribed to the channel, or YouTube decided to unsubscribe, which seems to happen rather often lately, make sure to subscribe or resubscribe to the channel. It's the easiest way to, help my channel grow and be seen by the algorithm. But what's even more great is if you fancy watching the next video. This is the biggest thing for the algorithm. Knowing you like my content and you start binging my content, this is where the algorithm goes like, hey, that guy seems to be interesting. So I am more than thankful if you do so. And if not, I still wish you a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Have a good time, and bye.